Hey guys, Dave and Len here. Welcome to Wargame Chat. Today we're going to talk about Wargame expansions, the good and the bad of them. One thing I want to point out with Wargames is a Wargame that sells about 500 copies is generally considered somewhat successful. I mean, don't get me wrong, you have some that still sell several thousand copies, but here's where I'm going with this. I worked for a game shop and they noticed that as far as expansions, whether they're for war games or if they're for Euros or whatever, for every 10 copies they sold of the base game, they would sell one of the expansions. And sometimes if it was a really popular expansion, they might sell 3 expansions for every 10. So there's a 10 to 30% of what you sold in the base game is going to sell in the expansion. So if you only sold 500 copies of your war game and you come out with an expansion, it's going to sell between 50 and 150 copies, which means there's no way to make a profit on that, really, that I can see. So they kind of, I don't know. I personally think expansions, the whole concept of it should be done away with. And they should just come out with, I guess you would call it extensions to games. So it's like new scenarios for a game, maybe include some new counters and stuff, but it also includes the map, and it also includes the rules from the base game, so it's standalone, kind of like a standalone expansion. Those ones make sense, but these other ones, like I said, if you sold 500 copies or 1,000 copies and you're coming out with an expansion, you're not going to make a profit. That's silly. What's your opinion on expansions?
Okay, because I was thinking the first one I could think of was S&T's tank game. The designer, they had like extra, designed an extra counter sheet and extra scenarios and extra stuff. And for $10 you send it in and they send it back. And it was nice. But I was thinking not everybody, I don't know, they suppose, designers supposedly took care, paid for it. So that, because they knew they weren't going to get that big a demand. And one thing, another example, this game, Outdoor Survival, that Avalon Hill had, their bestseller, and I'm sitting there, why didn't they have other games to this, like Desert Survival, Arctic Survival? Well, maybe they were thinking along Dave's turn.
Well, I mean, they could have included the base rules and a new map and a few extra counters, or the counters they're just needed for the game, and come out with it. The worst expansion I ever saw in my life was some war game magazine. I can't remember which one it was. This was a while ago. I saw it at the store, and the game it said that was in it sounded interesting. It was some kind of like World War II game, but it was about an obscure topic in World War II. I can't remember exactly what. So I get home. The game was in a Ziploc bag or something, or excuse me, the magazine was in a Ziploc bag. So I opened the Ziploc, I pull out the game, and the game requires you to own some base game from some other company or something. So I ended up bringing the game back to the game shop, and they let me exchange it for something since I hadn't punched the counters or ruined the packaging or anything. But I thought to myself, it's like, why would you have a magazine game where someone has to buy a game from a base game from another company or whatever it was in order to play it? I mean, that's really limiting the amount of people who would want your magazine.
Did they say on the cover this is an expansion?
Nope.
That's the
that's the reason I was able to exchange it. If it would have said that, I'm sure they wouldn't have let me exchange it. I can't remember what it was, some obscure magazine or something, but yeah.
Because I was thinking Avalanche, actually what people should think of is not so much expansion games, but as series. Because I was thinking Avalon Press has things like the Panzer Grenadier system.
Well, those are all standalone. That's what's good about them.
Well, there are they have booklets that are subsidiaries. Like
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the booklets they tend to sell through the mail. Like I was looking through the one they had about the Philippines 1944, where we returned. You know. It's not the most exciting period of World War II. People like me would find it exciting. And but generally, the problem they had with some of the Panzer Grenadier booklets was like they'd have like, you use the map from this, borrow the counters from this game, and it's like you know, you have 3 different games you got to take things from, and you're sitting there going, well, I got 2 out of 3 games. And for a while there, they had a rule about each supplement had to be a standalone, but now they're going back to their old bad habits.
One thing I've noticed, I buy a lot of used games, as you guys know, and sometimes I'll buy like a base game and they say, oh, it includes 3 expansions or something. Well, the 3 expansions came in boxes. So when you buy the used thing with them, it doesn't include the boxes generally for the expansions, and the counters are all mixed together and stuff. And I don't know, it's just a big mess. I just prefer standalone games.
Yeah. I'm still wondering, why didn't they have a desert survival? Or, I mean, they could have the same basic rules, just have a desert map.
Did the game sell well, though? I don't know.
It was Avalon Hill's bestseller.
Which one? Outdoor Survival?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, yeah, so maybe, I don't know, maybe they should have come out with extensions for it or something.
Yeah, or extra maps or something.
Well, extra maps make sense because, I mean, you're just printing up a map and it's not that expensive. So if you only sell a small number, it's still possible to make a profit. But if you're including like die-cut counters and so on and so forth, I've seen some of the prices that they charge in the United States for die-cut counters. And if you're ordering them in small amounts, the pricing is just completely out of hand. I guess that's why so many people are getting them done in China. But, yeah, my dad's got the Command and Colors series, I think it is, and he's got there's a Napoleonic one, and there's Command and Color Ancients and stuff, but the Ancients has all these expansions and stuff, and that's the same story. You get all the pieces mixed together and stuff. So
I can understand
when you go to sell it, that's a problem.
With Ancients, it's a big period.
Yeah, it is.
You know, from about 3000 BC to, I don't know, 476 AD, and or more. So, yeah. Oh, one thing I was thinking, back to the tank game, a lot of us, it was really popular. And I was saying, like, they had the map, it declared in the scenario whether it was open, mixed, or closed. So it was open, you ignored all the forces. And mixed, only the light force exists.
What tank game was this again?
Tank. That was the name of the game, Tank.
Wow, I don't think I've ever played that one. Who was it by?
S&T. It was a magazine game.
Oh, okay.
And the thing was that they noted that Avalon Hill was working on a game that's the same scale as the Tank game, and that became Squad Leader. And that went because we were saying, why don't they have extra maps for Tank? Extra units, do this, do that, but they don't listen to us. And so instead, Avalon Hill had the Squad Leader, which was a big seller. Really big seller in those days. So they missed the boat.
Yeah. All right, guys, that's all we got. We'll have something new for you next week. Have a good evening.